There is a secret about life, a secret about men, a secret about power that almost nobody talks about. Most men live and die without ever discovering it. They chase money, they chase women, they chase approval, they chase status. They spend decades running after things that never bring them real strength, real fulfillment, or real respect. But a rare few, less than 1%, see the world differently. They know truths hidden in plain sight, truths that the masses ignore. And because of that, they rise. They move through life with an ease that others cannot understand. People respect them without knowing why. Opportunities find them without being chased, and when they speak, the world listens. This is not about luck. It is not about being born with the perfect looks, the perfect family, or the perfect opportunities. No, the rare men who enter the top 1% are not necessarily more gifted. They are more aware. They see what others don't see. They live by laws that most men will never even hear. And here's the harsh reality: most men will never join them. Not because they can't, but because they won't. They will stay trapped in distraction. They will stay addicted to comfort. They will live controlled by their emotions, by their attachments, by the opinions of others. And in doing so, they will waste their potential. But you, if you are listening now, you have a choice. You can open your eyes to the truths that separate the rarest men from the crowd. You can step onto the path that leads away from mediocrity and toward mastery. Understand this: everything you were taught about what makes a man powerful, respected, and unforgettable, it's only half the story. The real secrets are not loud. They are quiet, they are subtle, they are hidden in behavior, in discipline, in presence, in mindset. And only the 1% ever discover them. This speech is not about easy advice. It is not about shortcuts. It is not about quick wins. It is about awakening to the truths that change how you carry yourself, how you are perceived, how you live, and how you lead. So listen carefully. Absorb every word, because what I am about to share with you are not tips, not tricks, not surface-level cliches. These are principles, principles that once understood will shift how the world responds to you, principles that make the difference between a man who is ignored and a man who is respected, between a man who is replaceable and a man who is unforgettable, between a man who fades into the background and a man who shapes his own destiny. You may feel ordinary now. You may feel overlooked, underestimated, even invisible, but the truth is, invisibility comes not from who you are, but from what you project. And the 1% of men, the rare ones, project differently. They carry secrets that transform perception into power, silence into command, discipline into dominance, energy into attraction, purpose into legacy, and detachment into freedom. These are the truths that most men will never hear, never learn, never apply. But once you do, once you begin to live by them, you will never see yourself or the world the same way again. This is only 1% of men know this. There is a truth that very few men ever understand in their lifetime: the world rarely treats you as you are. It treats you as you appear. That's the secret the top 1% of men live by. They know that perception is not a superficial mask. It is the language through which the world decides how much respect, influence, and opportunity you deserve. Think about it. Every single day, people are silently judging. They're scanning your body language, the way you enter a room, the calmness or chaos in your voice, the direction of your eyes, the energy in your presence. Before you even speak, you've already told a story. But here's the twist: most men don't realize they're telling the wrong story. The average man thinks, if I'm good inside, people will see it. If I work hard, the world will notice. If I'm kind, others will value me. But reality doesn't work like that. The world doesn't have time to examine the depths of your heart. People don't sit down to analyze your intentions. They see your frame, your tone, your confidence, or lack of it, and they decide in seconds what you're worth. That's why the rare men, the top 1%, craft perception with precision. They understand that being silent but intentional, composed but powerful, makes the world lean in. They know that even if they don't have millions in their bank account yet, they can still command the room by how they carry themselves. Because influence is not always about what you own. It's about how you make others feel in your presence. Have you ever noticed how some men never beg for attention, yet attention finds them? They are not the loudest? They're not even the best dressed, but their calm gaze, their stillness, their deliberate movements create an invisible aura. That aura is perception. It tells people this man is in control. This man is not desperate. This man doesn't chase. He attracts. Meanwhile, most men sabotage themselves without knowing it. They slouch, they fidget, they avoid eye contact, they speak too fast, trying to prove themselves, and in doing so, they broadcast insecurity before even saying a word. Remember, in a world that is constantly testing strength, insecurity is blood in the water. The 1% understand that perception is power because people respond to what they believe about you, not necessarily who you are. If they perceive you as confident, opportunities open. If they perceive you as valuable, they treat you with respect. If they perceive you as weak, they dismiss you no matter your true potential. Here's the hidden advantage perception can be shaped. It's not fixed. You don't need to be born with a certain look or a certain status. You need to carry yourself with awareness. Slow your movements, own your space, speak less but with intention. Look people in the eye without apology. Learn the art of stillness. When you do this, you reprogram how the world responds to you. Perception becomes reality because people start to treat you differently. Doors open, respect multiplies, influence grows, and eventually opportunities align with the story you've been projecting all along. The top 1% of men never leave their perception to chance. They craft it like a weapon, polish it like a tool, and wield it like a shield. That's why they move through life with an ease the rest can't understand. The truth is simple: who you are inside matters, but who people think you are decides how the world reacts. And only the rarest men have mastered that game. Most men think power is in their words. They believe the louder they speak, the more they will be heard. They think persuasion comes from endless explanation, from talking until others are convinced. But the truth only 1% of men ever learn, is that silence is often the loudest voice in the room. Silence is not emptiness, it is not weakness. Silence is presence, it is command. It is the unshakable confidence of a man who does not need to prove himself with constant noise. And here's the paradox: the less you speak, the more weight your words carry when you finally choose to use them. Think about the men who instantly command respect when they enter a room. They are not always the ones flooding conversations with clever jokes or endless stories. Often, they are the ones who listen more than they talk. They are the ones who allow others to speak while they sit still, watching, measuring, calculating. And when they finally open their mouths, every word lands with impact because people have been waiting to hear it. The average man cannot sit with silence. He panics in it. He fills the space with nervous chatter, endless explanations, or meaningless words. He cannot allow silence to stretch because he fears being forgotten, ignored, or judged. But in that fear, he reveals his insecurity. He shows that he depends on attention to feel worthy. The rare men, the 1%, are different. They understand that silence creates tension, and tension creates value. Imagine two men negotiating. One pleads his case, talks endlessly, trying to convince the other. The second man simply listens, nods, and says little. Which man has more power? It is always the silent one, because silence forces the other person to reveal themselves. Silence makes people uncomfortable. They rush to fill it, and in doing so, they expose their weakness, their need, their desperation. Silence is not just about withholding words. It is about mastering control. Control of your emotions, control of your reactions, control of your need to always respond. The 1% of men know that silence in conflict is often stronger than anger. When provoked, most men lash out, explode, or defend themselves. But the rare man stays calm. He doesn't react. His silence says, "You cannot shake me. You cannot pull me into your chaos." And that silence burns louder than any shout. Even in attraction, silence is a magnetic force. Many men think winning attention requires constant pursuit, endless compliments, or flooding conversations with words. But the truth is, the rare man who holds back, who listens more than he talks, who creates mystery with his silence, he draws people in. Because silence creates space for curiosity, and curiosity is the seed of attraction. Understand this silence is not passive. It is active power. It is deliberate restraint. It is choosing not to play every card, not to reveal every thought, not to react to every provocation. It is holding back so when you finally act or speak, the world pays attention. The majority of men never learn this. They exhaust themselves trying to be heard, while the 1% let silence do the work for them. They know that a calm pause can end an argument faster than shouting. They know that a thoughtful silence in a conversation can shift all eyes toward them. They know that silence builds an aura of strength that no amount of noise can replicate. So remember this every time you resist the urge to over-explain, every time you choose stillness over reaction, every time you allow silence to fill the space. You are teaching the world to listen to you differently. You are showing control, you are showing presence, and you are joining the rarest group of men who understand that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Talent is admired, talent is celebrated, but talent alone has never built empires. Talent alone has never transformed ordinary men into legends. What separates the majority from the rarest 1% is not what they are born with. It is what they repeatedly choose to do when nobody is watching. Discipline will always beat talent because discipline does not rely on luck. The truth is, talent is fragile. A talented man may impress people in a moment, but if he lacks consistency, his brilliance fades. We see this everywhere: the gifted athlete who never trains hard enough, the intelligent student who never studies with focus, the naturally charming man who wastes his potential chasing distractions. Talent gives them an advantage, but without discipline, they collapse under the weight of wasted opportunity. The 1% of men understand that greatness is not built in a single performance, but in the grind repeated daily. Discipline is waking up when you said you would, even when you're tired. Discipline is showing up at the gym when nobody else expects you to. Discipline is reading, learning, practicing, and working while others scroll, sleep, or make excuses. It is boring, it is unglamorous, but it is the foundation of all lasting power. Think of talent as the spark. It catches attention, but it burns out quickly if it is not fed. Discipline is the wood, the steady fuel that turns the spark into a fire that never dies. The men who rely only on their natural gifts live short seasons of admiration. But the disciplined man, even if he starts with little, builds a life that compounds in strength, influence, and respect. Here's the truth: most men avoid discipline requires sacrifice. It means choosing purpose over pleasure. It means saying no to distractions, to parties, to mindless habits that weaken your mind and body. It means embracing discomfort, because discipline thrives where comfort dies. The average man seeks ease, but the rarest men hunt resistance because they know resistance is the training ground of kings. Talent often makes men arrogant. It whispers, "You're special. You don't need to work as hard as others." And many fall into that trap. They coast on their natural ability until someone less talented but more disciplined surpasses them. And when that happens, the talented man feels betrayed, as if life owes him success just because of what he was born with. But life doesn't reward talent, it rewards consistency. Look at history. Look at every man who rose from nothing to greatness. Very few of them were the most talented, but every single one of them was disciplined. They built routines, they embraced repetition, and they turned discipline into their identity. That's why they outlasted everyone else. And here lies the secret: discipline creates freedom. The undisciplined man believes freedom is doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants. But in chasing that false freedom, he becomes a prisoner to his impulses. The disciplined man restricts himself in the moment, but those restrictions forge a future of real freedom, financial freedom, physical freedom, mental freedom. He is not controlled by desire, he controls it, and that control makes him unstoppable. So understand, this talent is a gift, but discipline is a choice. You cannot choose the family you were born into, the natural skills you were given, or the luck life hands you. But you can choose discipline. You can choose to wake up earlier, to train harder, to study longer, to stay consistent when others quit. The 1% of men are not the most talented, they are the most disciplined. They know that every small habit compounds, that every act of discipline builds an identity of strength. And when talent fades, when luck fails, when everything else crumbles, discipline remains. It becomes the steel foundation that no storm can shake. Most men believe power comes from muscles, money, or influence. They think the strongest man is the one who can hit the hardest, speak the loudest, or intimidate the most. But true strength, the kind that separates the average from the rare 1%, comes from mastering what most men never even attempt: to control their emotions. Emotions are the invisible battlefield of life. Every day you are tested. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Someone insults you. A deal doesn't go your way. A woman rejects you. A friend betrays you. Each situation whispers the same question: will you control yourself, or will you let your emotions control you? The majority of men fail this test. They react instantly. They explode in anger, drown in frustration, collapse in fear, or shrink under insecurity. They become slaves to their emotions. And a man who cannot master himself can never master the world. The 1% of men, however, have learned the art of control. They feel the same anger, the same fear, the same doubt as everyone else, but they do not surrender to it. They pause, they breathe, they calculate. They know that emotions are temporary storms, and storms always pass. Instead of being tossed by the waves, they anchor themselves. They decide when to act, and they never let their emotions make the decision for them. Why is this so powerful? Because the man who cannot be provoked cannot be manipulated. Think about it. When someone knows they can trigger your anger, they own you. When they know they can trigger your jealousy, they own you. When they know they can trigger your insecurity, they own you. But the man who controls his emotions becomes untouchable. He cannot be baited, cannot be rattled, cannot be broken. Look at conflict. The average man argues with fire, shouting, defending, lashing out. He wastes energy proving himself. But the rare man keeps calm. His silence, his measured words, his composed presence, those strike harder than any insult. People fear the man who does not lose his temper, because his power is unpredictable. The same truth applies in relationships. Most men chase validation, react emotionally, and let insecurity dictate their actions. But the 1% hold their frame. They are not controlled by rejection, nor inflated by attention. They remain steady, grounded, unshaken. And that steadiness is magnetic, because everyone around them senses it. This man cannot be moved. Emotional mastery also fuels clarity. Anger clouds judgment, fear paralyzes action, desire blinds reason, but when you master your emotions, you see reality clearly. You make decisions based not on temporary feelings but on long-term vision, and in doing so, you separate yourself from the chaos where most men live. Here's what most don't understand: emotional mastery does not mean becoming cold or unfeeling. It means feeling deeply, but controlling the expression of those feelings. It means choosing the right time, the right place, and the right measure. The 1% of men still feel pain, still feel joy, still feel love, but they are not ruled by it. They rule it. So how do you build this mastery? Through awareness, through discipline, through practice. It begins with noticing your triggers: what makes you angry, what makes you insecure, what makes you fearful. Then you train yourself to pause, to breathe before reacting, to step back before deciding. Over time, you become stronger than the impulse, stronger than the emotion itself. The rarest men know this secret. A man who can master his emotions has infinite power. He can lead armies, win respect, attract loyalty, and create legacies, not because he is the loudest, but because he is the calm center in the storm. And in a world filled with chaos, the calm man is king. We live in a world obsessed with appearances. Men are told that attraction, respect, and influence all come down to looks: perfect bodies, sharp suits, symmetrical faces. And while appearance plays its role, the 1% of men know a deeper truth. It is not looks that truly attract, it is energy. Think about it. You've seen men who check every box on the surface: handsome, wealthy, rest, maybe even wealthy. Yet when they walk into a room, nobody feels them. Nobody notices them. They blend into the background like wallpaper. On the other hand, you've seen men who may not be the tallest, the richest, or the best looking, but when they enter, the entire room shifts. Heads turn, eyes follow. People feel something magnetic, something unexplainable. That is the power of energy. Energy is the invisible force you carry. It's the confidence in your posture, the calm in your movements, the conviction in your words, the fire in your eyes. It is not seen, but it is felt, and when people feel it, they cannot ignore it. The majority of men never cultivate their energy. They hide behind status symbols. They obsess over haircuts, shoes, or watches, yet their presence feels empty. They might look polished, but their energy radiates insecurity, neediness, or desperation, and people sense it instantly. Because human beings are wired to read energy before anything else, the 1% of men know this secret. They invest in their energy before anything external. They train their minds, their emotions, and their presence until they radiate strength. They understand that when your energy is right, your looks become secondary. A man with average looks but undeniable energy will always outshine a good-looking man with weak presence. Energy is shaped by what you believe about yourself. If you walk into a room doubting yourself, you emit uncertainty. If you walk in craving validation, you emit neediness. But if you walk in grounded, calm, and certain of your value, you emit power. And that power attracts everything: respect, loyalty, opportunities, and yes, even love. Look closely at leaders, at influencers, at the men others naturally follow. Most are not flawless in appearance, but all of them carry energy that commands attention. Their voice is steady. Their body language is open yet firm. Their eyes lock in without fear. Their energy says, I am here and I am enough. This energy is not arrogance. It is not loudness. True energy is calm, steady, and unshakable. It is the difference between a candle flame flickering in the wind and a fire that burns regardless of the storm. And once you build it, you never need to beg for attention. It finds you naturally. So how do you cultivate energy? By strengthening what people cannot see. Build discipline so your posture radiates self-control. Master your emotions so your face radiates calm under pressure. Pursue your purpose so your presence radiates direction. Train your body not just for looks, but for the confidence that comes with strength. Energy is not something you fake. It is something you embody. The 1% of men know that attraction is not about chasing. It is about becoming. When your energy is powerful, people lean toward you without you asking. They want to be around you, to work with you, to trust you, to love you. You don't need to seek attention. Your energy pulls it in. So remember, looks fade, fashion changes, and money can be lost. But energy, real, grounded, magnetic energy, cannot be taken from you. It is the invisible crown that makes others stop, notice, and respect you. And this is why the rarest men, the top 1%, focus less on how they look and more on the energy they bring. The greatest trap for men today is not failure, not rejection, not even poverty. The greatest trap is pleasure. The constant pursuit of feeling good, of chasing comfort, of feeding every craving. Most men live as slaves to pleasure, food, entertainment, validation, distraction. They spend their lives chasing short bursts of happiness, while their true purpose rots in the background. The rare 1% know a different truth. Pleasure is temporary, but purpose is eternal. Pleasure gives you a momentary high, but purpose gives you a life worth living. The average man wakes up and asks, what do I feel like doing today? The rare man wakes up and asks, what must I do today to move closer to my vision? That single difference determines the course of his entire life. Pleasure whispers lies. It tells you that one more hour of sleep won't matter. One more party won't hurt. One more distraction is harmless. But what is harmless in the moment becomes deadly in the long run. A man who chooses pleasure over purpose loses his edge. He wastes years drifting, and when he finally wakes up, he realizes his time is gone. Purpose, on the other hand, demands sacrifice. It demands that you say no when everyone else is saying yes. It demands that you work when you don't feel like it, that you grind when nobody is watching, that you walk alone while others indulge. Purpose is not easy. It requires discipline, pain, and isolation. But the man who chooses purpose builds a life of meaning, a life of legacy. Think about the men who shaped history, who changed the world. Were they chasing comfort? Were they living for pleasure? No. They lived for a vision greater than themselves. Their purpose burned so deeply that no temptation could distract them. And because of that, their names live on long after their bodies turn to dust. The majority of men avoid purpose because it feels heavy. They don't want the weight of responsibility. They don't want the sacrifice it requires, so they trade it for pleasure. A quick laugh, a cheap thrill, an empty escape. But deep down, every man knows the truth. Pleasure without purpose leaves you empty. You can distract yourself for a while, but eventually the emptiness catches up. The 1% of men understand that true fulfillment comes only from living with purpose. When a man lives with purpose, even his pain feels meaningful. Even his struggles feel valuable. He doesn't escape difficulty. He embraces it because he knows it's shaping him into the man he was meant to be. And here's the irony: the man who chases pleasure never truly enjoys it. because he is always hungry for the next fix. But the man who lives with purpose experiences deeper joy because his pleasure is earned, not stolen. When he rests with peace. When he celebrates with pride. His pleasure becomes richer because it is not his master, it is his reward. So ask yourself, are you living for comfort? Or are you living for a cause? Are you chasing pleasure? Or are you building purpose? The answer defines whether you will be forgotten like the masses, or remembered like the rare. The 1% of men choose purpose over pleasure every single day. They sacrifice the easy path to build the hard one. They delay gratification to create lasting impact. And in the end, they are the ones who live with strength, with fulfillment, with legacy, while the rest look back and regret the years wasted on meaningless pleasures. One of the hardest lessons a man can ever learn is this: the more attached you are, the weaker you become. Most men don't realize it, but they live in chains, not chains of iron, but chains of need. They are attached to outcomes, to people, to money, to comfort. And because of that attachment, they can be controlled. The rarest 1% of men know a hidden truth. Real strength comes from detachment. Not coldness, not indifference, but the ability to walk away from anything that threatens your self-respect or your purpose. The man who can detach holds the ultimate power because nothing owns him. Look around. Most men cannot walk away. They stay in jobs that kill their spirit because they are attached to a paycheck. They stay in relationships that drain their soul because they are attached to comfort or fear of being alone. They stay in habits that weaken them because they are attached to the pleasure they provide. In every case, their attachment makes them prisoners. But the man who is detached, the man who can say, if it costs me my peace, my values, or my purpose, I will walk away, that man is free. And freedom is the foundation of strength. Detachment does not mean you don't care. It means you are not controlled. You can love deeply, but you don't lose yourself in that love. You can enjoy wealth, but you are not a slave to it. You can enjoy success, but your identity does not depend on it. You own things, but they do not own you. That is detachment. Think about negotiations. The most powerful man in the room is not the one desperate to close the deal. It is the one who can walk away. In relationships, the strongest man is not the one begging for attention. It is the one who remains steady whether attention is given or not. In life, the man who can detach from fear, from doubt, from need, becomes unstoppable because nothing can be used against him. The majority of men live with hidden desperation. They are desperate for approval, desperate for validation, desperate for security. That desperation leaks into everything they do, the way they speak, the way they move, the way they make decisions. And people sense it. Desperation weakens you, detachment empowers you. Here's the paradox: when you are willing to walk away, the world offers you more. Why? Because detachment signals strength. People respect the man who doesn't need them. Opportunities flow to the man who doesn't chase. Relationships flourish for the man who doesn't beg. When you stop clinging, you attract more because your energy says, I am whole with or without this. Detachment is built through self-reliance. The man who knows he can survive alone is the man who never fears loss. He knows his value is not tied to external things. He knows he can rebuild, recover, and rise again no matter what happens. And because of that, he is fearless. But detachment requires courage. It requires you to face discomfort, to let go of illusions, to accept that nothing is permanent. Most men avoid this truth, but the rare 1% embrace it. They live lighter, freer, stronger, because they carry no unnecessary chains. So ask yourself, what owns you? Is it a person, a fear, a comfort, a habit? Whatever it is your prison. And until you learn to detach, you will never be free. The strongest men are not the ones who hold on the tightest. They are the ones who can let go. The 1% of men know that detachment is not weakness, but power. It is the silent declaration, nothing outside me controls me. I am enough on my own. And that more than anything else is true strength. And so, the truth stands most men will never know these things. They will keep living on the surface, chasing what is easy, distracted by noise, controlled by emotions, weakened by attachments, addicted to comfort. They will never pause long enough to see the deeper laws that separate the ordinary from the rare, but you have heard them now. You have seen the blueprint that less than 1% of men live by. The question is not whether these truths are real. They are. The question is whether you will live them, because knowing means nothing. Every man knows he should be disciplined, but only a few actually rise before the sun and put in the work. Every man knows he should control his emotions, but only a few remain calm when tested. Every man knows he should live with purpose, but only a few are willing to sacrifice pleasure for the sake of vision. It is not knowledge that makes the 1%. It is action. It is consistency. It is the decision made daily to embody the principles that most men only talk about. When you choose perception over laziness, you shape the way the world responds to you. When you choose silence over noise, you shift the power in every room. When you choose discipline over talent, you build a foundation that cannot be shaken. When you master your emotions, you become untouchable. When you radiate energy, you draw everything toward you. When you live with purpose, you outlast distractions. And when you learn detachment, you finally become free. That is what the 1% know. That is what they live. That is why they rise while others fall. Now the weight is on you. You have the choice to ignore this and return to the comfort of mediocrity, or to step into the path that few dare to walk. It is not easy. It was never meant to be easy, but it is the only path that leads to strength, respect, and legacy. Only 1% of men know this, even fewer live it. The question that remains is simple: will you